Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. Life handed me some unexpected circumstances yesterday, so that's why I did not get on to keep streaming. But here we are again. I have more work I can do here on the Star Destroyer. So, let me do my intros real quick. I am TanktheElder. You have found us on Magic and Mayhem, and with that, we are going to be diving into, I guess the trend right now is to call it my forever world. Essentially, this is going to be the world I attempt to keep working in and on for quite some time. Just trying to get things going, do some fun stuff, all that. So, one of the things I did last time, just as a recap, is I now have maps that cover the entirety of the outline of the Star Destroyer. Like I said, I'm not worried about missing that teeny tiny cutout at this point. Because then I would feel required to do something over here, and it just, yeah. So, for now, we're just gonna go with it like it is. When I get the opportunity to mix some more maps, we will go ahead and continue. We will get a copy of all of these maps as it is at that point to kind of give me a way to look back at what I've done so far. And yeah, so I think for this morning here for a little bit, we're going to go ahead and keep adding on the ribs to create the sections for the so that I know what I'm filling in as I'm building all of this. Gives me a good chance, like, that feels like a nice little complete section. Because it is. But yeah, I'm trying to get these things built up, and then I need to start figuring out how big some of these sections are actually going to end up. In terms of vertical breaks, to determine, like, okay, how big is the hangar bay going to be? Do I have the information available to, put in, like, an Imperial shuttle or 3? Or some landing craft? And do we want to go ahead and figure out how they would store, the walkers for transport, because of course those are only going to come out when you're actually in the throes of attempting to take over a planet, or occupy a planet, but they're getting flown through space for somehow. So we might have to sit down and see if we can figure out how all of that gets stored in the belly of this Star Destroyer. And from there, we'll get to have lots of fun, because I have a feeling we're going to possibly start using some of those things, like the TIE fighters, what have you. I might try figuring out how to get villagers into those, in part just to have a fun, creative way of trading with the villagers. as we keep going. And part of the reason why I'm going, I definitely do want to have the villagers, is at the very least I'd love to have the stonemasons, and have them have a full array of all of those. I don't recall hearing of any, except maybe the wandering traders, that really do a whole lot in terms of wooden blocks. But that's okay, because trees are not that hard to farm. I guess I do need to learn whether they all still have their standoffs. Like, I know at one point with the spruce trees, you couldn't have them closer than like 3 saplings, or 3 blocks between saplings. Kind of the same thing with birch. So we'll have to figure that out. We will be making an appropriate amount of space for a good tree farm. I do need to still go through the world or run into wandering traders who have saplings for acacia for sure. I have not run into any of that so far. And I know I have some jungle. I have access to jungle because that's back close to world spawn. However, I don't have any, so if a wandering trader shows up and has them for a relatively inexpensive emerald cost, we may go ahead and just do it that way, because for the moment, I don't have anything that is going to take me back to spawn anytime soon. I have considered, since it is there will be a point at which, hopefully, we find the right resources to host this, and then I'm not sure if I would put it behind like a Patreon paywall, or if we just put the whole world download into out on the internet and just go, hey, if you want to come see what's going on, go right ahead. I haven't decided on that just yet in terms of how I want to have that progress. Just to make sure that there's some control over how it gets used at this point. Not that I'm worried about people getting in and doing anything, because this isn't on a server. This is literally just my world on my computer, and that's how it is. Depending on what people are wanting / willing to invest in, we might throw up if I get the mods to make sure that there is a reasonable amount of control over players interfering with each other, what have you. I could see possibly starting up a server for subscribers or Patreon, what have you. So, just having some coffee, because thus far this morning I have not had any. Okay, so we've got a full one, and then I gotta figure out what the rise is going to be. Alright. So yeah, so there'll definitely be a chance, like, by the time I'm organizing something like that, there will be a community around here to give me some kind of idea of what people actually want to have, and ideally we'll have folks who know, like, hey, this is, I have never been and do not intend to be party to the kinds of people who enjoy griefing other people just to grief other people. I don't find that to be a particularly enjoyable way to experience Minecraft. So there will definitely be rules about that kind of thing, and yeah. So like I said, we'll have to figure out what kinds of details we're doing, because yes, it's absolutely fun to have a community to play with, and to be able to get on and do some fun things. But for now, that's going to be driven by... Okay. I forgot to check that. Alright, so... Boom, boom. I was not watching what was going on this side. So I think... Oh, gee willikers. Golly gee, Ned. Hi, Mr. Drowned. I gotta go take a breath, because I'm not like you. What has done can never be dead. Alright, so... Okay. Just to fly up here, and... I should have... Okay, so... Pop, pop, pop. So, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Nine, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16. Okay. Survival. Welcome to Survival Craft. Okay. So let's do that. And we will do 4, 5, 7, 8. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Gets me, boom. Okay. I've started trying to be a little bit more conscientious about how we meet up, so that it's not super awkward. Curves there at the end. Just to assist in getting things squared away well. Yeah, these are gonna be some very interesting times. So, but yeah, we're going through. We got some good things going. We'll have a few dozen more to do towards the center. Those are going to take quite a few because even from the line that I have all of this coming from, it's still almost 13 stacks to create all of this. So doing the ones there in the middle, like I've only done like 6 or 7 I think I've done about 4 stacks on each of those, now that I think about it. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun trying to find the ways and means of getting it all squared away. Let's have us a sticky. Alright, so now we'll come back and do the most boring thing that one can in Minecraft. Build a bridge. A one-wide bridge to nowhere. Or almost nowhere. So, but yeah. So, probably need to start sitting down and thinking through, like actually getting a nice build list for myself of, okay, do we make, because the Star Destroyer is what it is, do I keep it as a art piece with just enough survival things in it to keep me creating? Or do I go ahead and say, oh, hey, let's kind of make, because this is massive enough to be its own city, let's go ahead and just fill it all in with stuff. Like I said, I need to figure out, because like I've seen the basics of putting a villager breeder together, but not necessarily how to go about capitalizing, since they have to be exposed to particular blocks to pick their profession, like lecterns and I'm assuming stonemasons like the require the stone cutting table, different things like that to do it. And then I guess somewhere in there they decided that needing to get them infected and then do a thing keeps their trades locked in. So yeah, I've got more research to do so that I know for sure what I need to accomplish to make it all work the way that I want it to. But yeah, that's, like I said, I've got to figure some of those details out. One of the other things I did last time I played, though we can't see it from this angle, I don't believe. Yeah, too far away. I put, I think, a rough perimeter of where I think the, like, outer spaceport structure will begin. I haven't decided yet what I want that all to look like. Because I don't have a desert, which means I don't have an effective means of getting sandstone. I don't really want it to be made of sandstone. In no small part because it's also going to mean that I will have to figure out getting things better prepared, what have you. Yeah. It's 29, so I need 3 more. And 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do that and that. Actually, let's do that. We've got a full stack here, and I'm at least 1 stack before I gotta start counting things more carefully. So, but yeah, we'll have to sit down and figure out what we want to do. I don't want to use a whole lot of gray, because, I mean, let's face it, that's what the Star Destroyer is. And by the time it's all done, I will probably be using all of the light colored grays somewhere within it. So stone, cobblestone, andesite, polished andesite, even in a few places tough, because until you do polished tough, it's actually a pretty light colored thing. There might be a few places that I go ahead and do some deep slate. I mean, we already know one of the things that I'm doing deep slate in, and that is the elevators for the backgrounds. But yeah, like, most of the, at least for the Star Destroyer structure itself, and things that are very clearly part of that, we're going to be using a lot of the grays. I think we're going to do 32 off of this. So minus 3, so 28. But yeah, so we'll have to go through and see. Yeah, I think so. Exactly what we do, but it really is going to pull a lot of the readily accessible. That actually might be one. That's one too many. Fine. Go swim with the fishes. Alright. So I think 16. So we'll have to figure out exactly what we're doing on those. Actually, you're still further out than I. Okay, well, then let's do that, and we'll do another 16. Yeah, so we'll just have to play around with what we're actually setting out to do. With all of this. Further out than I thought I was. Silly Webbit. a feeling this is just going to end up being a... Let's just keep running it straight, because I think this is... Okay. Well, I think this is going to do it. There we go. Alright. Better-ish. So. But yeah, we'll keep playing with it. Looks like it might soon be time to run back and grab some more blocks. Oh, that is something I do want to check for the fun of it. Okay. 484 days. Yeah, that's... I won't say it's the longest I've spent on any of my worlds. 'Cause I've definitely had a few where I have put in some time. But in terms of going from, hey, I'm in the world, to there's something that I've left an indelible mark in the world, this is probably one of the longer times that I've spent doing that. So, that's kind of fun. Right there. So, if I intend to do more of the light gray glass like I did there, because I just thought it would be really fun to have a place where you can kind of look down and see at least part of the top decks of the Star Destroyer from the bridge area. But I do think there are going to be places where it's, instead of having this thing just fully armored out, hulked out, what have you, we're going to go ahead and do we're going to go ahead and have more things put in. So let's go get the cobblestone. Alright. It absorbed it? Okay. Not gonna argue with that. Alright, since we are here, let's go ahead and sleep. So, and one of the things I have been thinking, but again, I don't have a good way to get enough of it. One of the thoughts that has come to me in terms of what to do for... Why does that look... Why do you look so much further apart? Huh? Oops, let's jump off on this side. That's why. Because we missed the middle one. I did not intend to skip a few. No, that was not part of what I was doing. But I did it. So we're going to correct it. But yeah, one of the thoughts that I've had, and have resources to at least accomplish some of it, is to create a create terracotta. I'd love to be able to find some mesa biome to just simplify the process of collecting, but thus far I have not found the appropriate climates to harvest that in, nor have I really stumbled upon any lush cave to be able to just mine a bunch of clay balls. Nor have I found a marsh or swamp to harvest clay from there. So my options for successfully creating enough terracotta to build something that looks like it would be a semi-effective like it could be a semi-effective spaceport are really kind of limited. So now obviously to play with texture and like if I go with the redder elements, then obviously I pick up the capacity to use granite, and if I have to, netherrack or nether brick, which I'm already contemplating having some nether brick available anyway, because I want, like, one of the bigger projects I have in mind is to build kind of a energy heat shield sort of device for, testing massive engines and keeping the area behind the output relatively unscathed. So yeah, we'll just have to see how that all comes together. I do think I want to... Excuse me, I do want to try keeping the immediate surrounding for this at least a little bit Star Wars-esque in design choices. So, which kind of goes back to that discussion on what do I do for sandstone, because I'd rather keep sand available to turn into glass for now than turning it into sandstone, because of course once you do that, it's sandstone. You can't take it down the glass path at that point. Because thus far they have not invented or given us a tool in vanilla Minecraft to take, take the resources that are already too far, like, again, turning some kind of stone into glass, or turning some kind of stone into sand, and being able to then use it as though it is normal sand. So if they did something like that, I would absolutely be interested in figuring out what which one they're doing that with, and then how to go about setting up a good farm for that, Like, if it's, okay, you can put cobblestone into this device, and it grinds it down into sand, I would be more than happy to sit there and create a cobblestone generator then, and, you know, grind my own bread, if you will, to have infinite sand. Same way, it's okay, what do we do? Sorry, guys. I thought I was more awake than this, and I thought the coffee was helping more, but it is currently not. Now, granted, I'm also not slamming it, so... but yeah, we figure out a means to do that that works within the overall meta of Minecraft would be a lot of fun. Alright, this is where I went short. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more up. And this is down 1 from you. So we have 5 more to get up. So I think we're gonna do one more 32. And then we'll do a 16. So, but I do think it would be fun at some point if they had that, like, capacity for recycling at least some of these resources, because, you know, they've kind of already done that with dirt and going through to make the packed mud and all of those. So I just, yeah, I think there is a way to do that. But it's gonna end up being a matter of how many steps do you want to have in this? Where all do you want to be able to reverse from? Without creating, you know, hundreds of laggy options for people who aren't going to appreciate that as much. Like, I have a feeling that in them looking at their demographics, okay, so boom, that's okay, boom. Alright, I think that feels like a nice, yeah. Okay. So now that I haven't skipped a step, so I'm still gonna have to figure out what my excuse and integration is for the Guardian farm. It is what it is. It does what it does. But yeah, brain is trying to work on these problems, but at the same time they're definitely hidden away in the back, getting worked on occasionally as I have time. Yeah, because I'm gonna have to start trying to figure out what the TIE fighters are gonna look like. Alright, let's put you off to the side now. No, I don't need fire resistance. Or at least I darn better not. I don't intend to go to the Nether at this point. So hopefully we don't need that. Alrighty. But yeah, we're gotta try and sit down and figure out what blocks are available and how best to implement a hexagonal panel and the circular cockpit. So joining them together I don't think is going to be too especially difficult. Like the stumps that hold the solar panels to the rest of the cockpit, basically. There's enough stairs and things like that in the game. I don't think it's going to be especially hard. It's going to be a little bit worse because, of course, we can't. So if this is the good angle of a stair, we can't, do that vertically at this point in time. So I'll have to get a little bit creative on how we go about doing that. But overall, it's not going to be super difficult. It's getting, because the TIE Fighter panel, yeah, okay. 2, 3, 4, 6. So 32 plus 6 is 38. So yeah, that's going to make for an interesting set of solutions, I think, to get something that looks good enough, but doesn't really compromise the overall impression. So, because I want the TIE Fighters to look like TIE Fighters, and I want the the shuttles to look like the shuttles, and all those kinds of fun things. I mean, that is the point of doing this in the first place, Of going, hey, let's get this all going and have some good times after that. So, and if any of you are concerned enough about what I'm drinking, that is a Black Rifle, is it vanilla caramel? It's one of their bigger energy, the 16-ounce cans. I just put it into another device because I did not buy one that was already pre-cold. So I needed to put it over ice anyway. And it is, what I really need to do is just go get some coffee so that I can grind it and make our own, because it ultimately ends up being cheaper that way. Excuse me. But for now, with the concerns that Alora and I have financially, it is just easier to grab a can of that and drink it. So, on the off chance that somebody decides to, reach out to me with coffee things, I like very good coffee, and Black Rifle coffee is decent. I definitely have had much better, but I have also had far worse. And with the fact that they also add extra caffeine into the one that I'm drinking today, it's probably not the wisest thing to do, getting my pulse running like that, but I won't say it's necessary, but it definitely is something that I very much struggle to start the engines without things, which obviously means I'm clearly addicted to caffeine, because my brain goes, I don't want to do the thing without the other thing. And my only saving grace that I would point to at this point is I don't have to have like 4 energy drinks in the day or anything crazy like that. Like, I have coffee. Some days I just have really strong tea. And it's enough to get my brain to go, okay, I guess I'll keep doing what you want, keeping you alive and thinking for whatever reason. So, but yeah, like I said, if anybody's interested, I love good coffee. Oops-a-daisy. Oops-a-doodle. Now, let's see. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. I think we'll switch to a 16 here. Excuse me. Yeah, just trying to get a little bit more consistent in building these, so that it's less you ran out and you ran into where the basically make it look more intentional as I'm building through on things. I have a feeling it's going to be 16 and then like 2 or 3. I could be wrong. I am wrong. Alright. Ta-da! So, but that's okay. These are the things that we are learning. And again, I'm not especially concerned with having both sides of these be perfectly symmetrical. If I was doing that, I'd have built various things in sections and then mirrored them with tools that do that kind of thing. So let's face it, we're working on a computer. Somebody has built a tool that will allow for essentially copy pasting or mirror pasting or what have you, if you're truly needing a precise mirroring of what you're doing. And I don't feel like that's exactly what this is. There are certain things that, yes, I'm trying to keep my measurements very strictly controlled. Trying not to waste too much time and efforts on certain kinds of things. But for the most part, it's let's get something in and down, because these are just massive problems anyway. So why don't we go about fixing the problem rather than continue to argue about it. Alright, and up for air. Up for air. Alright. So let's go ahead and get these set up, because we'll have to cut off these. We'll have to work off of those as well. So, and again, those are indicators to myself that there's going to be a certain thickness to the decks, even here at the widest points. 6. The Star Destroyer is not a ship built to be filed to pinpoint in any of its. That's a really annoying thing to have done. So yeah, it's going to be a matter of, okay, let's let's go ahead and create things in a way that, you know, if you look on the map here, let's run up and take another look at that really sexy map. You know, like, it narrows to points. You know, even back here, it comes to a point. But that is not, strictly speaking, a, you know, a 1 block wide point. Even up on the front, it's narrowed some because of where the pattern that I had to use to try and get it so that it would hit here and hit up there, where that actually interacts with the rest of it. But even that is still, I think, about 7 blocks wide. And that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to do with this, where it's the, okay, yeah, compared to back here where, you know, you're talking, that's 505 blocks wide, it comes to a very fine point. But that's not the same kind of fine point as what you're going to end up with if you brought it all the way down to it's only a block wide. Because again, the Star Destroyer doesn't require that fine of a point. It's to do that would make it a little ridiculous. So instead of doing that, we just go ahead and take the things that we need. And one of the things I probably am going to end up doing is there will probably be some kind of observation area on the edge of the, at those points. Because, let's face it, there's only so long that you're going to want to stay confined inside of a ship like this, unable to see anything. Like, yes, having various forms of porthole are going to be compromising the armor of a ship like this, but it's a whole different story to do that than to sit there and be like, okay, this is just a completely armored, fully armed and operational battle station, kind of thing. I'm trying to decide. So yeah, this is where I was talking. I kind of went through and gave myself a rough idea of where and what the back of the spaceport should be. Like, this is the business side of the spaceport, and then from here we're going to have, there'll be a pretty tall tower that helped guide the Star Destroyer in as they were, landing it, all those kinds of things. But for now, till I decide what style I want to use for the building of that, we're just going to leave it as is. Shall we go get some mangrove? A wise man would have brought his boat. I did not. There we go. So we ought to get a few good mangrove polyps. Or propules, whatever. However they call them again these days. Okay. Oops. This seems more than a little bit silly, but we're going to have fun with it anyway. Okay. So let's swap you out. Because now we can... Let's tower up some more. Dunk, dunk, dunk. Okay, I think that might have been what we needed there. Start harvesting leaves, because eventually we'll start making things like shrubberies and other forms of but yeah, we'll start making more of all of the things to just make things look homier and lived in. So, alright. You decided to grow way tall. You gonna let me? You will. Away. I do appreciate that they have made the mangrove so that it is not just a here is straight trunk. Like, for all that it makes it more complicated to come in and tear it down, like, it feels more realistic in much the same way that some of the oak trees that have the taller oak trees that you can get to. I just appreciate that they've allowed a bit more tree realism in what they're doing. Like, and for this, honestly, I do not know what I want to use all of this for. I was half hoping. It's not, but I could hope, right? That the nope, it's not working. Okay. Well, under those circumstances, I'll just come up here. There we go. But yeah, we get in here and clear some things out, have some good times. I know a lot of farms now use the roots here to prevent, because you can fill the same block as the roots with water, so you have your water to do what it needs to do for keeping things going. Do you have some? Aha. We do. Make sure. Yep, because there's another one. Alright. So, but make it so that you don't accidentally fall into the water and then accidentally have to trample crops just because you got yourself trapped into the water block that is keeping things moving at a good rate. Dun, 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 dun. See, like having to chase through this, looking for essentially limbs for it feels a lot more like you're harvesting a real tree than just, tearing up a single pillar of a central pillar be like, oh, there it is. Excuse me. So, it's no floaters. It's about the only thing, without it being a reason for something to be floating, i.e. it's, like I will have some things that do float in this world because this is a world that has Star Wars technology in it, which means there's going to be some hovercraft. But that makes sense because they're intended to be that rather than just dirt or stone block cast about kind of willy-nilly on the earth to, like, oh, we didn't actually render in the rest of this hill, so here's about 13 blocks that are just there. It's like, okay, I mean, sure, but that seems a little silly. Okay. There we go. We'll put mangrove stuff. Alright. So, I do think, just given what's going on right now, let's pick a place. I think you. You gonna pick on me in the sunlight? Kinda dumb. Told ya. Mama told ya. Yeah. Oops. 9. Oops. Should be 6. You go up there. We'll have to get a mending book for that at some point. So, okay. Hello, Mr. Ender Dude. Dude of Ender. Alright, I think we're just gonna go ahead and get more cobblestone. I haven't done that for a while. And with trying to get the ribs all planted in place, I think it is time to have that as a legitimate concern. And as I have been doing, simply we're going to get more worried about tearing all the dirt out than about saving all of the dirt in a box. We may even go ahead and dismantle that cow. Boop. I think for now, for this section, I think we're just going to go ahead and cobble. Turn it into cobble. Because I have the better part, at least, of 4 double chests full of stone. And so I don't really need a whole lot of stone at the moment. Now, obviously, when I do, we'll have options. But I think for now, this will give us some good stacks of cobble to take back and keep working on expanding the ribs of the Star Destroyer. It's kind of bougie. This all down. It amazes me sometimes how fast grass spreads. Like, some of it you'll be sitting there being like, man, I really want this grass to grow. You come back, an hour later and it's still, you got one thing, and here I'm exposing certain amounts of dirt, and grass like, yeah, no, I'm definitely taking over in the 2 minutes since you've been back in this area. This is mine. I will be here. Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot of stuff. I suppose if I was really worried about it, I think I need to go hunting in there. We'll do that later. I'm going to tear all the dirt out first. And then we'll go over and see if we can find the logs that I missed. Why do I have to have that song in my head right now? Brain make people exasperated. Because for some reason now, we are fancy like Applebee's on date night. I don't know why. Because for one, that's just not... My wife and I enjoy a good date at Applebee's. Don't get me wrong. But it ain't like that's a fancy date for us. Like that's not the level of sophistication that our dates would consider to be fancy. Some of that is living in the greater Denver area. We just have more options. So, like, I know there are parts of the country, because I've visited those parts of the country, where your options are severely limited. And so, a place like Applebee's really is some of the fancier options you get for attempting to go out and enjoy time with a loved one that is not your normal it's not the normal, hey, this is the meal that we're gonna have at home, or something like that. I think that's gonna... Nope. Almost missed you up there, friendo. I'm going to say, by the way, that all happened, that does mean you were the last two that I needed. Fancy. Granted, my wife, who drew my attention because she was working on a French ball gown, still occasionally neglects to realize just how fancy she can be when she wants to be. Is not a typical state for either of us, but neither are we the sort of thing that is typically labeled as white trash. And we're good with that. Things are exploding. Very violent way for the leaves to go away. Alright, let's throw the granite up there. In here. Yep. Alright. So now. Zoop. Zoopa. Zoopa. Ay. Alright. I think this makes the more sense for how much we intend to remove here. So yes, it gets a little bit higher. Make it hot, hot, hot. But yeah, there's only a few blocks that are up there, so this ends up being better use of resources. have Sorcerer's Apprentice running through my head. This is my mind on music. What does it look like over? We might leave the stair in there. Alright. So let's actually leave that. We'll punch it back to this side. Oh look, it's a Zombo. It wants to eat my face off. Like in that movie, you know? The Face Off. Only except he wants to eat my face off. And sometimes brain just goes into babble mode because I don't really have a topic for today. And I apparently have run out of my more typical ramble at this point. So yeah, because life is a highway, I'm going to ride it my way. And I'm having just a little too much fun. But that's okay. If you're not having fun, you ought to try better. Understand what's going on in your own head and fix yourself. Life is too short to waste yourself worrying about being not happy. Boom. What you gonna do? Thank you. You're helping with the terraforming. Thank you. But truly, you know, life is a highway. I'm going to ride it all night long. That's right, you have joined Lyric Musings with TanktheElder. I have contemplated over the years of doing a channel where literally I just grab like song lyrics, what have you, and give them the old Shatner treatment of changing the punctuation, emphasis, all the things to take it away from how we all have experienced it previously to a new experience of, you know, being able to go, oh, that's an interesting, if you emphasize it like that, that really changes the I got the bits I want. Got more errors. I got myself some more errors. I'm trying to decide as well. I think this pickaxe is going to be good for quite some time. I would rather... I'm trying to decide if it's worth just wearing it all the way out, or should I save it for when I either have access to mending books in the first place, or as a tool to upgrade to netherite. Because again, it has Unbreaking 3 and Efficiency 4. So, no, it's not the most efficient, but most of what I do, I'm not looking necessarily to one-shot everything. Plus, at this point, I have not made a beacon. I think that's going to be something in this world. I think I want to build eventually build a wither farm for wither skeletons, and then do my research about how to make an efficient way of eliminating the wither. And upon doing that, farm it for witherheads, farm it for withers to make however many beacons I actually need. And I know it can't be super difficult, particularly here in normal, because I've seen a number of folks who are doing just fine with those in hardcore mode. So obviously it's not impossible. I lack the experience because, again, I'm not the kind of... Any world that I have started up till now, I am more concerned about what I'm building than about trying to build efficient farms and, go through and get all the achievements. At this point, I've never even taken on the dragon. So I have technically never beaten Minecraft. Which is honestly a pretty typical situation from... Okay, I think... Yeah. I have a tendency to not fully complete games. Point of fact, like, one of the games that I have done the most to complete and still haven't beaten it all is... Actually, let's just go ahead. Yeah. We're just going to go ahead and do it this way, because that'll tell me where I need to... That'll tell me what I need to know. Okay. And this is where I'm going to have my massive regret of not grabbing my boat. Grab my boat. Need to run. I think I should go back over. Okay, so... Dirte... Granate. In the granate. Got those. Alright, let's go grab Deer Bote. Do have to say, this being able to see things like this under the ocean is one of the reasons I do like having aqua affinity. Just to be able to actually watch this all unfold as you go through is so beautiful. So where did I leave the boat? I have a feeling. Yep. Okay. So let's come round here. We're gonna come round here. Grab it. Grab it from Babbitt. Yeah. Okay. Start dropping the ore in there. But yeah, so alright. Probably not gonna go too much longer because I do actually need to get out and get some work done today. Unless Alora and I decide we're gonna do something a little different today. But I need to speak with her about that before I make that decision. We punch through at 3 wide. We use the 9 wide. Or the 9 total. That is something else that I would absolutely love them to see them integrate into vanilla. Like, honestly, even if you made it as expensive as needing 3 blocks of appropriate material. So, if you've messed around in modded Minecraft for any amount of time in the last couple of years, you've probably heard of, whether you've used it or not, Tinker Construct, and the modular tool making, weapon making that you can do with that. And one of the tools that I would love to see them integrate, that I don't think would be any kind of ground, like, it wouldn't be game breaking, especially because the recipe for it would be pretty easy to put together, would actually be the hammer from Tinker's Construct, where if I want to mine out a 3x3, I can sit here and in the center of that take my hammer and smash through, and it gives me all 9 blocks on that level. So instead of having to, so with one use of the tool, it's mining all that. And I would even be okay if they went ahead and made it like you have to have, for the stone version, you need to have smooth stone. For the iron version, you need iron blocks. For the diamond version, diamond blocks. For netherite, netherite blocks to make it to make it expensive enough to go, okay, you're not gonna necessarily your first few, like, even though that's what you might want in, the starting of your world. And, oh, hey, you've got the smith's table and some other ways to go, okay, this is not a straightforward, you can put it far enough into the meta of how you progress technologically, because the mace is now like the weapon, I think, in terms of it will do the most damage available, but you have to find all the right pieces to it. You have to have all of the right things to actually put it together. Well, okay, so give us a way to make, hardier sticks for, like, make tool handles a thing, so that it's okay, you need sticks, but maybe for a tool handle you need to also have, like, you might only need 2 tool handles to make a pickaxe, but it costs three sticks per 1 tool handle. Basically giving you that, like, okay, it's easy enough to get to, but you have, and that's where I do think, like, I don't think I want the full Tinker's system, for all that, it does actually give you, some uses for gold that you don't otherwise have, but, like, one of the things I think would be kind of interesting to have, technologically speaking, now that we've, like, if they're going through and going to give us some new things to really improve the game mechanics and the tool progression, because the tool progression, aside from the fact that they have added netherite as an option, has not really changed since all available tools were put together. And so what I'm thinking is, if you introduce something, I said, call it a tool handle, so that, okay, if you're doing the basics, you can pretty quickly, it's, maybe it's 9 sticks for 1 tool handle, but you need to, you still need to have 2 tool handles the way you need 2 sticks for most of it, unless you're making the sword, then it's just the 1. But, like, give us the opportunity to go, oh, I want more durability out of this, so, even if I'm making, let's say they introduce hammers as well, go, okay, I want a hammer that really is going to be really durable, and that, so I need to have I need to have 9 smooth stone blocks to make 1 tool handle. Well, now I need 18 smooth stone to create 2 tool handles. And and again, there's a little bit of fudging around that you're going to have to do, because obviously the recipe for 9 diamonds on the crafting grid already gives you a diamond block. But maybe it's an option for something that you can do with a diamond block of, once you have that, you can go, oh, I actually want this to be a tool handle. And so you can have a diamond handle on your sword, and if you make that sword with, let's just say you've come across enough that you can make a netherite sword. Well, now you've really pumped up your durability and enchantability, because all of the parts of that sword have at least diamond level enchant capacity. And that's where I go, okay, I don't know how they would come through and kind of balance some of those things out. But I will do it this way. I think it would take some playtesting, not this is an impossible task, basically. To sit down and figure out, like, okay, how do we adapt something like Tinker's Construct into the world in a way that doesn't destroy what's already been, but gives you that, like, there's no use for copper except as decoration, lightning rods, or spyglasses. Which seems a bit silly to me. Like, no, copper is not an amazing metal as far as tools go. There's it's not for no reason that humanity went on to bronze or other metals to build the things that built modern technology. But it seems a very silly thing to me that there isn't that step between stone tools and iron tools of copper tools, which, again, let's look at what, at the differences between a stone pickaxe and an iron pickaxe, and I'm sure you could find a number of uses that would feel like, okay, because copper is now a thing, let's make stone pickaxes actually last less time, to encourage you to go find the copper to make a copper pick till you can find the iron to make iron tools. But again, getting back to, the discussion of, like, using ideas from Tinker's Construct, like, okay, what if, maybe I'm not so far along, like, I've picked up a whole bunch of diamonds because I lucked onto a mine shaft or something like that. Well, if I can make a copper tool handle, and I've got the diamonds to make a copper, or make a hammerhead, and I okay, maybe that's not the maximum durability that you'd get, but you know what? Between having, the capacity to get unbreaking enchantments and, some of the other typical tool things to speed things up, like, that would still be a massive increase in, capacity to mine. And like I said, you sit there and kind of go, like, okay, the material your tool handle is made from affects your maximum durability. So again, if you're just running around with wooden tool handles, you're not going to have the ultimate maximum durability on your tools. But it's not like they're going to, like, vanish in a second. let's face it, even with all of our modern technology, even with all of the modern materials that get used as synthetic handles for hammers and the like these days, like, you drop down, where do you drop down? Silly creeper. But like, even with the synthetic tools, handles that we can use on tools in the modern world, like, I have, they called it a drilling hammer, but very small sledgehammer, or a very light sledgehammer, that I used for a while as my sculpting hammer. It was a 2-pound sledge head on a fairly short handle. Well, it finally gave out and broke enough that it won't keep the head in place, so it needs replaced now, and I have a new hammer that has a synthetic handle on it that does the same thing. But the fact of the matter is that the first one that I had lasted me for years of some fairly intense hammering that I was doing because I was sculpting with it. Like, so it's not like wood is, going to mean that you're just categorically screwed if that's what you decide you're going with. But again, it's like, by the same token, I have a claw hammer that I've had for years. It is almost exclusively metal, aside from the synthetic grip, so that it doesn't go flying out of your hand when you're using it. So that's pretty detrimental to you and to anybody standing close enough to get whacked by your hammer leaving your hands. But I would love to see a little bit more variant like that. Like, okay, you can make a golden tool handle, which will drastically increase your odds of getting the best enchantments on your stuff. But it's also going to pretty quickly, like, doing a gold-handled diamond hammer or diamond pickaxe even. You can enchant it really, really well, but it does not, you still have the problem of gold is not a particularly sturdy metal. And so your uses are quite limited, even if you have Unbreaking 3 on it. And again, some people would do that because, if you let it follow the similar progression, if you then take that tool and upgrade it to netherite, well, then you counter some of the durability problems. But you have kept the extremely enchantable side of things intact. So it's just those kinds of things I think would make for a really good way to... Thank you, buddy. I feel like it would really end up giving you a very fun way to give people choices about how they let their tools progress. Because that's one thing that I feel like, understandably, has not truly improved in Minecraft in a long time, compared to, like, the amount of biomes and the rich variety of blocks, and some of the things that they've done now to change out how to change up how dyeing things works, and the number of flowers that are available, and the fact that they all pretty much have a dye that they make. So, like, if you really want to use a particular dye, you just find ways of duplicating certain flowers, and or like, I've got an iron golem farm, which means that I have a way to get lots and lots of roses, which means I should never be short of red dye. And just finding something like that to make tools a system of trade-offs, rather than just grab a couple sticks, strap on the best material for that particular tool, and voila, Bob's your uncle. We've all got, our tools sitting here. But finding a, like, hey, okay, copper's not a maximum durability thing, but you know what? If you make your tool handles out of copper, rather than using wood as your tool handle, hey, you get an extra, 2% durability usage for the same tool. And then, like I said, finding ways of going, like, okay, and I think I might even go so far as to say, like, maybe you make the tool handles can only be made from either sticks or it has to be one of the metals. So, like, you can't do a diamond tool handle, but you can do a netherite one. So yes, it would get expensive to make a netherite tool handle, in addition to the other expenses of just making the netherite tool, but that would end up giving you maximum durability from that. Like, maybe that's an extra, 10% durability to what you get for using the particular, so for a cobblestone, for a stone tool, if for some reason you decided, hey, it'd be really funny to have a stone tool with a netherite tool handle, instead of the, was it like 75 uses or something like that you get with a stone tool, it's now you get another 7 uses out of it. So it's actually 84 uses for a stone tool, on that. But yeah, I would think you could do something like that without a whole lot of trouble. Because that gives you incentive. Like I said, with copper, I'm always half tempted to just throw it away, because it's only a decoration block or very limited and, for me, unused utility. I really haven't seen anybody running around with a spyglass. Mostly because so many people will go ahead and put Optifine on their worlds, which I might do at some point. I know it helps with being able to go, okay, we can look really closely at certain aspects of a build. Like, I can sit here and be like, oh, okay, so we can see in here, and we'd be able to zoom in towards the main engine nozzle there, to really take in some finer detail and that. And I know it's also one of the platforms that tends to, excuse me, support the various shaders, and that certainly has its uses too. But it's not something that I, as a rule, tend to use, so theoretically, me adding a spyglass would have some utility that wouldn't be there necessarily for somebody who had Optifine on. But yeah, it's like copper's kind of this, like, it's a very pretty block. I love the fact that they have a variable texture on it, where essentially the more exposure it has, the more it weathers down, because that's how copper works in the real world when it's used as a building material. But I would love to see something like, oh, okay, how about instead of there's no use except for visual with it, let's go in and it's actually, like I said, find a way to change the thing, because, like, let's face it, most times you're just going to grab more sticks to make more tools, just because they're cheap, and especially now that trees drop them as they're as the leaves are despawning, like, it's super simple on that. But that's where I would say, like, you come in and you go, okay, well, let's maybe we only do it with the metals. And again, gold would be one of those, like, you're going to drastically increase your enchanting on the tool, but you're also taking like a negative 3 or 4% on durability for having the gold handle. So the kind of thing I would go, okay, maybe with Unbreaking 3 it offsets to the point where the tool is essentially like, it has the baseline durability of making your tools the way that we always have in Minecraft. Okay, so if I do another that's still 2, so but yeah, I think that could be a way of making your tool choice be a more impactful decision. Like, to sit there and go, okay, I want to build this staircase. I don't have enough iron to do just like a full iron whatever, but then I can decide, okay, well, I'm trying to build this way. Maybe what I need to do is put all the iron into iron blocks and make myself a hammer with a regular tool handle. For the benefits that gives me, versus going, oh, you know what I really need right here, right now, is I need an iron tool handle, but I can go ahead and just do stone tool heads to make that, I can do a stone tool head with an iron grip, and it's going to give me more durability than a typical than the typical stone tool would, but I don't have to invest I don't have to put as much investment into getting my tools to a certain point. But yeah, I think there'd be a fun way of doing that, I think. And like I said, to further increase the variability there, it's like you've got the tool handle that you can make just with sticks. And then the 4 metal components. So copper, iron, gold, and netherite can all also make tool handles, and those tool handles dictate, like an iron, having an iron tool handle of some kind gives you much more durable, again, like a 2 to, let's say, 5% durability increase on your tools. Well, I'd be willing to put the time and effort into figuring out how much iron I need to do that. And then, like I said, the other thing I think would be oops, what am I doing? I am not ready to go. I gotta drop them off too. Drop the rest of the kids off at the pool. But yeah, to start having that game of like, okay, how do I make the best use of these actually? Rather than just being stuck with, okay, pick up sticks. Now that you have sticks, you attach a few things to them, and here you go. And again, like, to get the hammer or something that functions that way, or like even if it was an enchant, like the Pathmaker enchant or something, to me feels like it would be a very, very fun way to bring in some of the variability that you see from Tinker's Construct without having without making the tool creation such a granular process. Because again, for almost all of the tools that Tinker Construct has, you're talking, most of them are 3 items minimum, and then there are a few smaller things that they'll let you make that are just 2, but they're also not like super amazeballs. So yeah, like I said, I don't think we need to go like full Tinker's Construct on it, but at the same time, like, I've played this for so long, and even with the addition of netherite and the fact that they're complicating how that gets used, I still don't feel like there's a whole lot of variety to how you do tools, and we all know, at this point, each tool harvests a block at a time. I don't think you necessarily have to change that's how it goes. But I certainly would find it interesting if they did create a tool where it's, okay, Like, instead of putting 3 planks on top of 2 sticks to create the wood pickaxe, make it so that if you put 3 logs on it, well, now you have a hammer. I'm not sure. In theory, you could do the same kind of, like, I don't know how you would necessarily justify it for, say, shovels or axes, though I think having a specific recipe like that isn't the worst notion. I don't know how you'd go about doing, like, especially for the axe, to go, like, okay, we're making a tool and we're saying it has more power than what it does. I don't necessarily agree with the notion of the felling axe. Forget what they actually call it in Tinker's Constructor, if that's what they call it. Which is essentially, as long as you chop out 1 block and you have this, essentially oversized axe, it automatically harvests the full tree. I don't think we necessarily need to go that crazy with it, but I wouldn't mind seeing an axe that is like, okay, it has more power, so, if your trees are it'll harvest 5 blocks of tree rather than insta-felling all of it. Though I did think it was kind of interesting that it with the axe in Tinker's Construct, I think if you harvested a tree, like an oak tree that had things that were not fully connected into the rest of the tree, it would leave those, which might be an interesting, like, if it's not actually connected to the rest of the logs in the tree, it remains, for all that then means, floating leaves hanging around and being ugly. It would make it more useful for certain kinds of tree farm than other. Like, for instance, birch doesn't branch off really. So having an axe that harvests all of the logs, all of the log that is connected to itself, I think would be reasonable. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, let's think about how we actually increase the appeal of the system. About, like, okay, why would you go and make, tool handles this way and not that way? And just trying to figure out all those little details of, like, okay, so how do we do this so that it doesn't throw off the rest of the progression, and in fact might actually enhance the way that tool progression works here in Minecraft. I was kind of hopeful when they did bring copper into the game that it would have a bigger role in technology than it does. Like, I get the notion of, copper armor is kind of laughable, but at the same time, like, I know when starting a world, I find more than enough copper fast enough to get enough copper ingots to have copper armor. And it offers more than no protection. Like I said, I'd love to see them actually sit down and come up with here's how we get copper into the situation, and come up with a good way of expanding the tool curve in a way that it's like, okay, you might reach a point where you're like, you know what, because I'm doing lots of strip mining, just trying to find more resources, that'd be a place where I could say, you know what, I'm going to invest in creating the needed, like I said, like, I could see them going for a cobblestone, like, you need 3 smooth stone blocks to make a hammer. Well, I might not be at a point where I can spare the 27 iron ingots to make an iron hammer, but I might be very willing to go, you know what, I will spend the I'll spend the coal to make the 24 or not the 24. It's still only 3 blocks, but you've got to heat it, unless you've already gotten silk touch by the time you're trying to do this. The 2 heatings worth of getting smooth stone ready to use. Like, I could see doing that before I'm maybe ready to drop a bunch of iron to create a hammer, to then go, okay, I've been creating all of these I'm really just trying to break a nice bunch of paths to find more resources. I could see dropping the needed heats on stone to be able to create a stone hammer. In the service of finding iron or diamond enough to upgrade even to, iron picks. Again, there's a lot of different ways that I could see that going, where you could go, okay, here's a reasonable amount of upgrade. To do the thing. And then, like I said, there's the possibility of also going, okay, let's add a system where it's, you could do flat percentages where, like, if you made a diamond pickaxe with a wooden handle, it has, pre-enchants, it has exactly as much durability as a diamond pickaxe has now. But then if you made the same thing with a copper handle, you go, okay, it has a 2% increase in durability, which is not a ton, but I think it's like 1,500. Unenchanted, you get 1,500 uses of a diamond tool. Well, 2% of that is going to be an extra, 300 blocks? That seems worth it to me, to put the copper into use to do that. It's like, it may not reach that, like, okay, here's the pinnacle of tool making off of this, but it sure as heck is worth something to, play around with it, versus, going like, oh, you know what, I actually have enough iron here to make iron-handled something, Well, again, if you do, like, iron gives you a 5% increase to your durability, well, guess what? You now have a tool that is going to stay effective for quite some time. And I think at this point I'm largely repeating myself, but it's because this idea has gotten into my head, and now I'm like, I want to see this happen now. But I don't have enough influence at this point in time to get this in front of the folks that can make it happen, because I am not a programmer, and so I can't really be like, oh, here, let me offer you this to make this work now. I can only throw out the theory of, like, hey, since we have these blocks available to us, or these resources available to us already, like, I'm not looking to, like, vastly disrupt how things are put together, but to get the notion of a hammer, so something that will destroy, rather than 1 by 1, it'll destroy 3 by 3 by 1. So, getting the hammer that will take out just these 9 blocks for 1 durability use would be completely worth it to me. Because, that was always the big one I wanted to get to with Tinker's Construct when I would play modded. It's like, I want to be able to remove 9 blocks at one swing. 9 blocks, 1 durability. And again, I think there would be effective ways of making it so that there's a trade-off for having that much power. Like, for one, I don't think I would ever attempt using that in a build unless I specifically had built something to be like, okay, now I want to go in and punch a 3x3 door through here. But I built the whole thing solid. And like I said, the notion of getting copper tools sorted out, is I think that would allow you to make something that durability-wise is a little higher than gold. Because I think in durability, gold actually falls around, like, more between the stone and woodish area, where I feel like if you did copper, you could go, okay, it's between stone and iron, and maybe we give it the capacity to take out something that stone can't. Like, I would be okay losing the capacity to harvest lapis with stone for having copper tools to use. So you could make those trade-offs. And then, like I said, then you also have the, like, okay, what if we create a device... Sorry, shoulders doing silly things. Create a resource, like I said, call it a tool handle for lack of a better or sexier word to choose in that case. To give it a... Oh, okay, this is a this is a thing that, 99% of the time, because you're just looking for, when you're making pickaxes, you just want a pickaxe that works. Go, okay, well, hey, if you happen to have, I don't know, maybe it's another, maybe it's 2 iron bar, or maybe it's 2 bars for the metal, and then you need to have 2 of the handles per tool, except for with the sword, the same as, right now when you're making the swords anyways. Maybe it takes a bunch more sticks than just the 2 sticks and appropriate other devices to make. But yeah, it's just one of those things that keeps whispering away in the back of my head of like, I'd love to see, because we have resources and I'm really frustrated that copper is not a more useful tool. Like, I'd love to actually see them make some form of redstone wire with the copper. Like, if you combined copper nuggets with redstone dust, you now have something where you actually can, you can wire a redstone signal, let's say, instead of just the 15 blocks. Well, if you run the entire system out in the copper wire, well, now maybe the signal holds up for 20 or 25. That would, in the course of making a redstone device, for all that I'm not especially interested in the redstone mechanics in the first place, like, that would be something that I go, oh, okay, so I can, for the things that I'm willing to do in redstone at this point, like, that's a reasonable enough amount to be like, oh, okay, I really have to be stretching this, like, I'd have to be working on something here that I wanted to go out to, like, the main hangar bay as something that I could trigger from back on the main port of the Star Destroyer, or from the front of the Star Destroyer, that I could trigger back in the main thing, that I'd have to start going, oh, okay, now I need to do repeaters in here because I'm traveling quite a long distance with this signal. Like, I could see creating ways of going, okay, well, maybe we revamp the redstone / electricity function a bit, because copper is, it's not as prolific as redstone in terms of, I think you only get up to 3 nuggets without a fortune assist. It's like 3 or 4 without using fortune. Which is still quite a bit of material, because each of those turns into an ingot. But you could have it be a, hey, this is part of our electricity system. Again, that would also be a case of sitting there going, okay, do we want to have gold also be part of this? And maybe that's a case where it boosts the signal because gold is a better conductor overall of electricity. Maybe there's a, gold wire gives you, let's say it gives you 35 blocks worth of continuity as long as you're using it. But yeah, I'd like to see, without like I'm not trying to ask for, hey, let's suddenly go super realistic simulation with Minecraft, because that's not what Minecraft is. It is not a super realistic simulation of any of the things that it does. But now that we have added certain functionality into the game, like, let's find ways of using that make sense with, again, making, or maybe with, copper wire, you don't have to have a block in certain area, because I get having blocks being in certain areas to carry signals, because you have to have a way to place the redstone down. Well, maybe now we have redstone wire, where now instead of having to build complex platforms to drop your dust on to keep the signal traveling vertically, or over certain distances, what have you, like if you're doing that with, like I said, let's call it redstone wire, make it cost 4 redstone and 5 copper ingots, but now you have 16 lengths of wire. Well, now you can send a signal 16 blocks high, and you just need the wire there, allowing for, frankly, radical downscaling of redstone systems, because now you're only taking up a block's worth, a block's worth of doing it, and maybe without adding in some other element to it, to make the wire hardier. It only transmits those. It's still only, like, you're not gaining any extra blocks from it. You're just eliminating the need for, the stack of stairs, or not stairs, the stack of slabs walking up beside this thing. Well, now you only need 1 block's wide to get the signal up where you want it for whatever you happen to need. And I think there'd be a way to make it so it's like, yes, it's expensive, but for people who really get into all of the redstone stuff, the capacity to now go, oh, wait, I can wire straight like this? Oh, that's very useful. Because now, instead of this, contraption for making a chicken cooker, needing to be, essentially spread out over a 5x5 section, or even a 3x3 section, it's actually now line up all of the devices. I have a wire that I can now transmit my signal the way it needs to go, and that's all it has to be. I think it would be very interesting to do that. And again, it's, we have gold, we have ways already of boosting a signal, which I think would remain necessary, or the kind of thing that we make it necessary to keep the redstone system kind of balanced for the, like, maybe there are places that you still actually need the redstone dust to complete the circuits, and all this kind of thing. But I think it would be a lot of fun to really start going, like, okay, we have, Like, we've had gold for a while, and so, like, power rails have been a thing for quite some time. So why don't we figure out, like, okay, how else can we use gold to play with redstone signals? And now that we have copper, like, hey, let's make there be benefits to putting that many let's just make there be benefits to adding copper and redstone to make some kind of, like I said, redstone wire, or yeah, and just give us some more ways of doing things, because the folks who build with redstone enjoy some of the challenges of it, and their attempts to make it as efficient as they can are just, it's phenomenal. It blows my mind that they understand that system well enough to make some of the devices that they do, and I love that for them. It's such a fun subset for all that I don't get into it myself. Like, I understand enough about wiring because my dad's an electrician, that, like, I think having that to play with, even with some of the other, shall we say, jankier, because it's built more like a computer language than it is like actual electrical work. Like, I could see myself actually getting more into doing some of that thing if it was okay, you don't have to sit here and figure out how you're transmitting a signal. You have wire carries signal. You just have to figure out how you're modifying signal to do the things you want, instead of having this, like, okay, so wait, how do I carry all of this and put it up there? What do you mean I need, like, 16 slabs to jump and, like, 2 more? Not the comparators. The other ones. But yeah, it would be fun to see them bring in stuff to, like I said, I think if it became a, okay, like, I think if they looked at it more from the perspective of, like, okay, let's figure out how we're using, because again, I collect redstone. In all honesty, I collect redstone explicitly because it gives me experience. I do not collect it in any way, shape, or form for its for the capacity to build with it or do anything with it. The vast majority of stuff that I do that uses ticks is doing automatic doors. And those typically, for me, are just a matter of, okay, let's drop a pressure plate on this side, let's put a button on this side, and that's it. That's all I use them for. So that's one of the reasons why I think it would be so much fun to see them go, okay, here's ways to do things, that way you can go, it becomes more intuitive to mess around with some of these things than with others. So, before we lose all you guys, Gotcha. Okay, so we're not changing pickup time, which means I still have plenty of time to work. Alright. So I realized I am dragging this on a little bit long, so to get some more time in. But that does make life a little easier. Alrighty. I think knowing that and knowing that I'm not going to be especially cramped for time, then we're going to come in and finish this. Get this all down before I actually stop streaming and get ready for working. So, oh goodness gracious. I kind of wondered, because we had one, I think it was a female, that's been kind of claiming our front tree. And I think they had, she had a couple of suitors that were after her the other week. So, but I think we've got something like 24 squirrels that inhabit the various trees around the neighborhood and end up in our backyard. So, but yeah, so I think we'll finish tearing this out, and once we've done that, I think I will probably call it a day, go get some lunch, and then go get to work on the other work that I do. Well, at least I know where to come find it when I want it. Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So, yeah, we got some more capacity to put the section off the angle. And I think one of these times, just for the simplicity of my brain trying to keep up with what I'm doing, we'll probably jump into creative to do the upper layers of ribs, because it is not... Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Do we need to get something to get rid of it, or did you go ahead and evict them already? So, and I am curious to see what all you've gotten done, because I know there was lots of work out there for you. But yeah, we probably need to start thinking about getting on the road so that we can get what we need to get today. Dang rabbit. Alright. Ah. That makes sense. That makes way too much sense. You know what, we're just gonna do this. I already have bunches of them, but a single coal is not especially useful to me at this point in time. So, and I probably need to set myself up to get plenty of XP and fix this pickaxe and the shovel. Well, one of these times we might have to go open it and have the eviction spray with us and open it so that we can get the whole thing. So I am glad you did not get yourself stung, though, because I don't like yellow jacket stings, because, you know, who wants to actually get hurt? But that's not terrible. You always seem to have weird reactions to bites and stings. So that might be a tank job, not an Allura job. Just because I don't want to risk you having bad reactions. Your immune system already goes batshit crazy about the littlest things. So yeah. Yellow jackets and wasps don't have, to my knowledge, they don't carry as much that our bodies go, hey, we're super gonna react to it, but this is you, Allura, so about the time we would make that assumption, your body would go, yeah, no, I'm not okay with this isn't cool, and then we'd have significant problems, and we don't want significant problems, so I think we're just gonna if you can get me the stuff, one of these days I will go out there and we'll open the umbrella so that we can see where it is and how big it is, and I will give them eviction spray, and we'll go from there. So, yes, no, that's one of those that when I see people talking about wasps, for instance, in reading our favorite, or one of our favorite series that we both enjoy, when Cal decides to design his love bugs, I don't know if you've actually encountered that part of the story yet, knowing that you have not read it as completely as I have. I forget where it comes up. It's like, except for wasps. Wasps are just jerks. I'm like, no, wasps are okay, as long as you're not, like, I got, at one point I did get stung by a wasp. It was a paper wasp, while Dad and I were taking recycling to the recycling center. But that was because I was dumping glass bottles into the dumpster that they had built their nest on, so it's it's vibrating and being all kinds of terrible. It sucked because it nailed me, like, right up at my hairline. But it wasn't like a, gee, I wonder why it did this, where yellow jackets are just assholes. Merch idea. But But yeah. So. Alright. But yeah, we can take care of that. And at least now we know where to keep little buddy away from. So. But yeah, I've always laughed when I've seen memes about, bees are friend, bumblebees are friend, and then some people get the wasps are spicy friends, but yellow jackets are they're just assholes. So we might have a Mountains in Mayhem merch idea off of that. So, but yeah, I think we'll tear this out, and then I will go ahead and sign off for the day. Glad that I did actually get a few hours in here. I was uncertain how that was going to necessarily go this morning, but yeah, we'll get it. So, of course, the other way that we do that, see if we can find one of your pictures with bee bottoms when they're taking naps in your flowers. Come up with something off of that too, because that's just cute and adorable and fun. See if we can find a good print shop we trust for those, right? And I think about the only thing we do, just because it is easier to translate simplified images than just straight up photos into shirts, and then I think we would just posterize it so that we cut down the number of colors they have to worry about. But we get that nice and printed up, and make it something along the lines of, you're doing something right when your coworkers curl up and take a nap. Acknowledging that, as beautiful and luscious as our garden is, if it wasn't for the insects doing what the insects do, we wouldn't have. That's part of what I'm thinking. We'll try and figure out how we're doing it exactly. Because some of that is also going to end up being if I can sort my stuff out to actually be working on some of that, I would have a lot of fun going through and creating those. Oh, I realized who we could talk to possibly about getting at least shirts and the like done, and seeing if he would be interested or able to assist us. So, because Alex's little brother, the one that worked at Melting Pot, got things to be able to do shirts too. So, without trying to preserve a little bit of privacy there. But yeah, it's one of the things apparently that he does. So I think he's put it aside in the last couple of years for, being able to focus on work and fiance. It's accurate priorities as far as I'm concerned at that point. So, but yeah, okay, I think, because you're getting pretty low. Get low, get low, get low. Yeah. So, we'll have to, like I said, we might approach him and see, at least have a conversation with him about it, because even if we don't end up, long term, if that's not going to work for everybody, we might still be able to get some merch and do some of that to and work with him for a bit to be somebody we know and would love to support, what have you. So, just something to keep thinking about as we keep moving along. Because then I can probably also talk with him about, okay, what do you actually need when we send you art in a much more interactive way than, some of the large shop drop order stuff that I've seen. Because while I don't want to get to the point where we have tons of inventory sitting around, I have a feeling we probably could work out some deal. We could sit down and figure out, okay, what is it worth him? How many do we have to have him run for it to be worthwhile for him and for us? And what are we looking at having to do to make it happen? But yeah, so. But yes, and then I need to figure out some things here, because Magic and Mayhem needs some merch to throw up there. I need some merch to have available. So yeah, I said that's. Yeah, and I know he's at least semi-interested, which is obviously very, very helpful, because he and I have talked about it a couple of times, but I never really had a solid, it was more the, oh, right, you do the thing with the stuff. Okay. At some point, maybe have legitimate, interest. Need to talk details. But thus far, haven't really been able to offer anything beyond the, that's really cool. And possibly be interested in at some point. So. But yeah, I was just realized, oh, that might be a path forward for us in terms of that for now. So, because we could potentially also make that a maybe we have one of the online print shops do our designs, what have you, but then have stuff that we work with him on to make more specialized and whatnot offerings for, hey, if you come to meets, that's what we do, or if you want autographs or signed whatever, maybe that's a thing that he helps us do. But yeah. So, just wanted to make sure, since I thought of it, and we had ended up mentioning some of these things. We'll get some of that squared away, figured out, what have you, and we can figure out what we might need to do from there. So, and then more importantly, okay, so like I said, I think at this point then I am going to call it here so that I can go and get ready for the afternoon and the paying of bills more directly. I mean, obviously, the notion is that eventually this does become something that we can turn into income streams. But oh boy, that's fun. Hopefully that was just a my end of things, not a live stream end of things, but we'll have to find out. But yeah, take the time to keep getting things put together for this. And just doing our best to keep moving, keep creating. Because, well, quite frankly, for all that... Okay. I thought so. We had a bit of a hiccup on the computer, and then it immediately reconnected, and so I wasn't sure if it had transferred at all. Hopefully it didn't, and we'll keep going, and we'll all be happy campers. But yeah, so let's go ahead and put that away. I'm going to go burn the dirt. Burn the dirt! Because I don't really have a place to store it here, and yeah, so... Whee! And then we're going to put the coal over here. And we will call it a day for now. So, yeah, let's end by looking at what we're working with here. So, and yeah, that little green speck right there really is about how big I am here in this thing. Just to give us an idea of how much space I have to go. So, and you can kind of see here already, that's about halfway up the thing that I've already gotten. So, yeah, good times. Let me go ahead, do that, and we'll come back to this. So, thank you guys for stopping by, seeing what all's going on here as I keep building, and I will hopefully have things more together tomorrow and be doing this much sooner in the day. But I am TanktheElder. This is Magic and Mayhem. In the chat, my beautiful bride, Alora, please go check out her channel, Mountains and Mayhem. There's some beautiful videos up there of just some peaceful moments she's been able to video. And of course, to help our channel grow and continue to be able to offer more things for you guys, like and subscribe here on Magic and Mayhem. Again, hopefully before too long, Alora and I will be able to get some videos put together of us playing some actual Magic the Gathering, and be able to throw some of that up for you guys as well. Yeah, and we're just still looking for things to grab people's attentions and just have a lot of fun in the space. So, thank you for joining me. I am TanktheElder. This is Magic and Mayhem, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.